Welcome back to The Experience. Today my guest is Dillon King.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course, it's taken me long enough to get here. Sorry.
I mean, you've been a busy man. You've been working around the clock. You know, you've been you have your own gym.
Yes.
Right. You have you're an advocate. You have kids. You have a wife.
Yep. Got a lot. It never ever a dull
building
moment.
houses.
Yes.
What don't you do?
Sleep. No.
Yeah.
Sleep on my own without any assistance.
Right. Without any help.
Yeah.
Like none of the CBD stuff. None of that shit.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your gym, because I know I've been wanting people to, that don't know.
Yeah. So we're Flambeau Fit. We opened up in 2016. I started training people in 2014. I've always kind of had since high school, I've kind of had a relationship with fitness for myself, but I really didn't start helping others with it till 2014. Mainly LGBT people.
Shout out.
I just wanted people to feel like, even if they weren't athletic or didn't feel like they belonged in that type of environment, that like they deserved to feel confident in their skin, and they deserved, just to feel strong and be healthy, right? Because like everyone wants to look good, but people really look past like how much longer and happier your life can be if you have some physical activity in there.
Correct.
So I was seeing that like the LGBT community didn't really have a space besides like bars to go out and like drink and smoke and everything. So I wanted to kind of create I wanted to kind of create something we could grow up into and become part of like this healthy lifestyle for the community. And then me and my wife were, privileged enough to be able to afford our own physical storefront in 2016. And we were like on a busy highway out here. Right. And that was really, really great to like just help us get noticed, being by a lot of traffic. And now it's 2023. We're not on the highway anymore, but we're again rebuilding because obviously small businesses got really hit with COVID. And
I was going to say, you made it through COVID. Though.
Yeah, when that was it. Barely feels like it, but like it was definitely, I tell people all the time, I'm like, COVID really changed how you market yourself. It really changed where people want to spend their money, and it really changed where people want to work out, because people started working out from home and realizing they like to mix in all these other different things. So they weren't fully committed to one place all the time anymore. Right. So, we're finally growing again from that. And now it's amazing because for the first time since COVID, I have like these new visions and this new goal of where I see the gym going within the next 2 to 3 years, and like that feels amazing because I've been missing this fire burning inside of me to like I like knew I wanted to survive. And I knew I didn't want to close the doors because I knew it was an important place for the members that we have. We have a special environment that we've, curated there. But to finally feel a fire inside of me and being like, this isn't it. Like we're still going. We're still going to grow. We're still going to become even bigger than we are now and more reputable. Like feels like a breath of fresh air, know? So that's what me and my wife do. I met you through hair. So like I have not been, say, in the career of fitness for my whole entire adult life. Right. But Missy went to college for physical education and kinesiology. So it was just kind of like perfect that me and her were able to be like, we're going to do this and we're going to do this together. So we're like all eggs in one basket. Yeah. In a sense.
Yeah. Well, you started off, doing one thing, and then you got into the working out, and then you fell in love with that. Yeah. Like I kind of saw that, I thought like, oh, you're going to like maybe do hair, and you did hair for a while, but then like the working out thing, like just really like you could just tell, and then like you transformed your whole life around it.
Yeah. So I did hair for 10 years, and everyone is like, well, that's so different. Like, how'd you go from doing this and now you're doing this like way over here and you have nothing to do with hair anymore? But I think what people don't realize is like my growing up life wasn't like, hey, what do I want to do with myself? What's my dreams? What's my passions? Like my childhood was very like survival mode, which I'm sure we'll get into throughout this episode. It was really survival mode, and that's how I met you. Is the hair salon was really the only place that was really hiring right after Katrina, and I was 16, 17 when we moved back after Katrina. And, I was getting kicked out of my house every other weekend and fighting with my parents all the time because of who I was. So whenever I was able to get hired at the hair salon, it was just like a way for me to be like, hey, I can feed myself without bothering my parents. If I'm kicked out on the weekend, I don't have to sleep in my car or ask my cousin to sleep on their sofa. Because, like, I appreciate my cousins being there, but sometimes when I was kicked out, I didn't want to go to somebody's house and, like, talk about all that stuff. I just wanted to go somewhere to sleep. Yeah. So having a job at that young age was just a good way of me being able to be like, I can go by myself, decompress, and have a bed to sleep in without having to answer any questions for anybody. Right. So when I worked at the hair salon in high school and got through high school, it wasn't so much of, oh, I love hair, but it was like, I already have a job here. Yeah. I'm already comfortable with the environment.
It was sustainable money.
Yeah,
yes,
like I loved working with y'all. Like Hair USA over there was like,
shout out Kim Brown.
Yeah, we were like a little family over there, and I was just super comfortable. So I got into that because I was even some of our coworkers were like, look, you may not do this forever, but you can take it anywhere you want to go, and you can support yourself with it while you figure out what you love. Correct. And that's essentially what it did for me. Like for 10 years, I did hair, and I loved my clients, and I built a great clientele, and I worked in like a popular hair salon in, Lakeside, even after I left Hair USA. And then, I've helped on like Fashion Week when it was here and all this stuff. So I worked on photo shoots. So it was like really cool. Right. I have great experiences. I met like really great people throughout it. But it just wasn't like super like my passion. So whenever I kind of started realizing that people trusted me with fitness or felt more comfortable with me because I wasn't like your typical like personal trainer type of personality, I was not like a bro-y person.
Gym bro.
Which some will say I am now, but it's fine.
To each their own.
Yeah. I realized that like fitness and helping others with that was more of my passion, so I was doing both for a while. I was working at like a booth rental place, doing hair 4-ish days out of the week, or I would take like the 5 a.m. to like 10 a.m. gym shift at a gym I was coaching at. And then, from 12 or 1 to like the evening, I would do hair. Right. And I finally was just like, look, I want to go all in. I want to give my all to my passion, which is like helping others in fitness and health. And I let my hair license expire. Damn. Because, I didn't want to have plan B anymore. Yeah. I was like, what am I plan Bing for? Right. I don't want to do this. Right. Like, I want to say I support my family and I'm helping as many people. Like, I'm putting all of my effort into this business because I truly believe in our mission. I truly believe why we started it and where we have to go and how many other people out there we can help with this business. Correct. So I let my hair license expire because I was like, I don't want anything to be a back burner option. Like, I want everything to be involved in Flambeau.
I like that.
All in. I had to.
Yeah.
It took me probably, I think we were open for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, done doing hair. Like, all in.
I remember when you told me about that, and I was like, wow, that's like fucking serious because, it's a big step. You know what I mean? It's like you're leaving, I would say a job that like makes steady money, good money, and then you're like betting all on yourself for this new
and it felt, I definitely had like imposter syndrome for quite a while with it because, I've never been ripped. I've never like had abs. I've never been like super jacked or anything like that. Like people sometimes probably wouldn't look at me and be like, this dude like lives and breathes fitness and health.
Right. But you were physically fit.
Yeah, like, I mean, I am like super healthy. Like, every time I go to the doctor, they're like, you're like one of the healthiest like blood levels like we've had or all this stuff, But so I had that imposter syndrome of like people wouldn't look at me and like peg me as this person. But like, this is where my heart is and this is where my passion is. And like, this is like my forte. Like, I have signed up for like every free course I could find online before we were making money. Like I've gone into nutrition and, exercise. Like I study as much as I can, but it probably took me up until around COVID to realize like, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. And like, no matter what I look like or what anybody thinks or what experience or credentials people think I need to have, the number one thing I've learned about being a coach is like, it's your ability to work with people and communicate and like make them feel comfortable to stay consistent.
Right.
So you can have the best coach that knows every single thing.
Right.
But if they don't like you, or they don't like the way you communicate with them, or, you know, you don't make it appealing for them to keep walking back through the door, where are they going to get done? You know, as much as me, it's more about consistency than being perfect.
Yeah, you're trying to teach them a sustainable lifestyle. Yeah. Something that they can sustain on their own, but like with your help.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do because a lot of coaches
can't
be, you know, and, you know, like talking about you, like people might not peg you for like a fit person. Usually like the bodybuilder-esque type look is like unhealthy, you know, like 4% body fat. Like you can't walk around, like, you know what I mean? So it's like you're physically fit. So like you can run miles. I mean, how many miles can you run? I mean,
I've ran a couple half marathons, which is 13.1.
So I mean, like probably
ran like 4 or 5 of those. I think that's done for me though. You know, these old shaky knees don't really love it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Got to put some oil on things.
Bro, they be hurting in the morning.
Well, no, but like bodybuilders can't do that. You know what I mean? And so somebody, like, I think everybody's perception of like what fit is like, you know, just
it's an aesthetic. It's just aesthetic, right?
You can be both, but it just takes longer to get there, which you've been working on lately. Yeah, you know, because you're trying to attain that new goal. Like you're already fit.
Yeah, I just kind of want to see what my body can physically and aesthetically look like now. So you know, I've been working with you a lot more. Yeah. I mean, I already work out. Yeah, you know, and I already know all about macros. It's just about being dialing down to the details.
What you said earlier, discipline.
Yeah, super disciplined, you know? It's dialing down to the details and stuff now. And, like, that's kind of, like, what I've been texting you so much about is because I just kind of, like, it's hard being your own coach.
Yes.
I'm healthy. I'm well-rounded. Like, like, I can have a snowball with my kids and, like, look like this. And, like, I could be totally fine for the rest of my life. But if I want to see physically and aesthetically, like, how far I can go, then I know it's going to take me having to check in with someone that's like, bro, stop eating that shit. Like, you know, but, like, you have to be in a healthy mindset too, I think, to get there because, you know, eating disorders, whether people want to talk about them or not, are like so prevalent in men too. Yeah. Like 100%. People don't want to talk about it, but I'm like, bro, stop being scared of food. Like
obesity is like one of the biggest epidemics, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, look how many people there's bigger people now than there were like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they have like I think like they're like human cranes for people. And
dude, I can't even watch those shows. There's like My 1,000-Pound Life or whatever. Like, you know, I can't.
And I don't know.
And that and Hoarders. Those are two things I'm like, I can't. But, and it's just, I don't know. It's a clutter thing for me. Like if you go to my house, like everything's like very wide open. Like I can't like do clutter
OCD,
or feel.
Though, right?
A little bit. Maybe a little OCD, a little ADD, a little.
But you need that because
overstimulated, over-caffeinated. We're a bunch of things.
Well, like Chris was saying earlier, it's like, y'all are both on the same wavelength. I was like, yeah, dude, we've been like that. But we've been like that since the day we met. I mean, even at the hair salon. I mean, we were always like running around like that. Yeah. You know? Is that where your fitness journey started? Like back then? Like when did you physically start?
You know, when I was like in elementary school, I weighed 158 pounds and I was 4'8" when I was in the 3rd grade. And I weigh 153 this morning, you know, so you think I weighed 5 more pounds and I was 8 inches shorter, you know, and I was a kid. And I'll never forget going to the doctor and like my mom laughing and like being like, tell your dad how much you weigh. And like I told him, and then my dad laughed at me. And I ran to my room and locked the door. Right. And my dad came and like banged on my door. And he's like, have a fucking sense of humor. Like, you know, but like I'll never forget that. Right. And that was the first time I realized like, this is something that I should be ashamed of. This is something that like something's wrong with me. Like, why are my parents like laughing at the situation? Like, I had no idea. Look, bitch, I'm eating what you feed me. I'm 8 years old. You make me 3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to eat 3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You're going to give me a sleeve of Oreos. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to eat a sleeve of Oreos. You know, so you're like a kid. Yeah. And, you know, you're not in control. You're not in control. Like, you're just like living life, like being fed or whatever. And, you know, I felt like this teasing, bullying moment from my parents, you know? And at that point, I started realizing, like, I started idolizing people who had fit bodies, you know? And, like, I did martial arts all growing up because my uncles had a kung fu studio from the 70s until we lost it in Katrina. Mm-hmm. So like I grew up always doing martial arts and loving it, but and then I was always involved in basketball, but basketball was always just like fun for me. Right. But I mean, when we moved to Texas for a little while, when I was in middle school, like I went in the middle of the season, tried out, and like they put me on the team. You know, I made the team when I like was in high school, and that's kind of when I realized it was like really cliquey. And I was like, okay, this isn't fun anymore. So I backed out of it, you know? So like, even though I was kind of involved in some sports, I never felt or was treated like an athlete. Like my dad would come to the game and be like, yeah, I saw you make those 3-pointers, but you're just not very fast, huh? You know, so it was
no support.
So like, no matter what I did, especially athletically, I never felt good enough. Right. And then when I was in Kung Fu, at my uncle's studio, like if we went and did tournaments, he would let me work with like our purple sashes, like our intermediate or advanced, I guess they call them students at the studio. But he would never give me a promotion. So I was a white sash from the time I did martial arts from when I was 8 to 17. I was a white sash the whole way through. Wow. But he would let me compete. So it was like I always felt like not good enough. Yeah. Like when it came to athletics, I was like, how am I making all these teams and I'm making these 3-pointers and then I'm competing and I'm winning in these intermediate divisions in martial arts. Wow. But like I can't get any good job. Yeah. Can't get any of it.
Can't get a notch.
It never felt like I was getting anywhere, or it was always like what I couldn't do or like what I should be doing better, you know? So I grew up feeling just like not good enough and knowing that like my body was laughable, I guess, you know? Right. So when I got into high school and all of my friends started planning like our senior trip, I was like, oh shit, I got to go to the beach with like peers, you know, and I started feeling like uncomfortable with it because I was like, I'm about to be in a bathing suit and like clearly I'm fat and my body's gross because like you're in this negative environment, right? Like my parents had a terrible relationship and, you know, so I didn't feel anything positive about myself. So when I was at Hair USA, I would literally eat 2 egg whites. I would eat oatmeal in the morning. And then for lunch and for dinner, I don't know if you remember me bringing this to Hair USA, it was a Tupperware. Yeah. And it was literally all I would have was broccoli on one side and 2 cans of tuna fish with Italian dressing. And that's what I ate almost every single day for probably a year or 2. And I got like down to like 127 pounds. Damn. But at this point, right, I'm also on the elliptical at any time. Mm-hmm. After leaving Hair USA for at least 45 minutes. Right. So if you look at this is not healthy. No. Not healthy.
Not even enough food.
You know, but I had this bad relationship being like with my body and with fitness. And that's kind of where it started of like, okay, I can get skinny this way. But that's also kind of when I realized that I was chasing something that fitness wouldn't get me. Right. So I am working out, I'm lifting weights, I'm losing weight, and all I see is like this skinny chick in the mirror. Right. It's because I'm trans. Right. And at this point, that wasn't a word. Like it wasn't, well, it was a word, right? But like you didn't hear it. No. We're talking about like 2005, 2006. Like you're not hearing anything about transgender people or anything positive about it. Like you might have heard of Chaz Bono, like Cher's son, and like everyone dissing him all the time, but like that's all you heard, you know? So, but throughout figuring out where my fitness should be and like how to take a healthy route into exercising, I also realized that like I was also chasing an aesthetic that was beyond health and fitness. It was being trans, right? Like I wanted broader shoulders, like I wanted to look like a fit dude, and took me forever. So if that was 2005, you think I didn't start my transition until 2014. Right. So it took me until I was 24 to like actually find someone to speak to me and figure out what like gender dysphoria and being trans meant and like what routes were options and stuff like that. And when I started my transition, I was involved in a CrossFit gym. And so when you go to a CrossFit gym, you know, you get this app and it has like men's scores and women's scores. So obviously I joined and I was under the women's scores. Well, whenever I came out as transgender, they let me switch over to the men's side.
Nice.
What was really cool was to see how I started at the bottom of the leaderboard, like the lowest scores and the lowest weights. And then all of a sudden over the next couple of years, I'm like beating all these guys out.
Dude,
and then
nice.
I started entering all these local CrossFit competitions. And I finished like top 4 in like a local CrossFit competition that had like 40 dudes involved
I forgot
in
you did the competitions. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I've done a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, you've been at that for a long time.
Yeah, I've done a few of them, you know? So it was like it really kind of went hand in hand of like me figuring out like a healthy headspace and relationship with food and exercise. And then also realizing like, hey, there's something else here that like I need to make like myself happy, you know?
Well, yeah, because you still had like the body dysmorphia and like you weren't like completely transitioned yet, right? So it's
I didn't start hormones
like
till 2014.
Right. So you have one physique that you're not happy with, and you're trying to attain this other physique, which you knew would require surgery and hormones and shit like that. When what year was that when you started like doing that transition?
So I didn't start with hormones till 2014. In 2012, I knew one of my friends transitioning.
Okay.
And I was like, what is this? Yeah. Like, you know, I was like,
yeah, because back then you never talked about that back then. Yeah.
No, like you did definitely. We're in the South. Like we didn't even hear of people going through a transition.
Yeah.
You know, even drag queens or, you know, trans women, you would hear like cross dressers, but you wouldn't hear the word like transgender, you know?
Well, I remember at Hair USA, you would always tell me like when I was little, I was always a tomboy.
Always. Like, and it wasn't sometimes.
No.
It wasn't sometimes. It wasn't like, oh, like, hey.
No, that's how you dressed every day.
Always. You know, like I was real pissed at Santa Claus because I definitely asked for a creepy crawly machine that made like the little gummy worms.
I remember
and
that.
I was pissed when I woke up that Christmas and I had an easy bake oven. Ain't nobody want that.
Shit,
nobody want that. Not this dude. I don't want it. Take it back.
Make some snacks.
Yeah, right.
Well,
but you know, and it was like stuff like that, like forever growing up. You know, like I always wanted to throw the football. I always wanted to play basketball. I always wanted the remote control cars. Like I wanted another thing that Santa Claus brought me. I wanted a red and black mountain bike. And I woke up and I had a pink ass bike with white tires. I'm like, ain't nobody want that thing.
It's like they were trying to defy you. Well, it also sounds like, because obviously, you know, I know like your background. It's like you didn't have a good support system. You know, which I always thought sucked, because I thought you, and still do think, you're an amazing human. And I know, like, I would say like your dad probably supported you a little more than your mom, right? I mean,
yeah. So me and my dad had a better relationship when I was growing up. But he was always like more like a friend, right? So like my dad would move out a lot. So him and my mom got pregnant when they were in high school for me. Then they both dropped out. And I was pretty much raised being like, we had to drop out of school because of you. Or like, we don't have friends anymore because of you. But I'm like,
right.
Y'all the one that got pregnant?
Yeah, ain't my fault. Y'all wrap it up before
you know, but like, that was like, that's what it was like,
blame
okay,
me.
just another thing y'all don't like me for, you know? But my dad was always really funny. And like I remember like washing cars with him and like thinking that was really fun, like blaring music, or, you know, like I remember driving in his truck and he like play his music as loud as we want. We could sing as loud as we want. Like he was always like the fun guy.
Right.
But like he could leave in a second. And like when I say leave, like move back to Texas.
Damn.
Like I don't mean like living around the corner. I mean, he did live around the corner a couple of times and I would spend every other weekend with him. But like there was also the handful of times where like he would literally leave and just like move out of state, you know. And then I was with my mom, and my mom was very much like, you know, your dad doesn't love you, or like we'd have lights on right now. Like we don't have food right now because your dad doesn't love you enough to like make sure we have food. So then I'm also like being master manipulated, like to pick sides, you know?
That's a lot to put on a kid.
I remember I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and it's like I can close my eyes and like see this apartment like to this day, like yesterday. I remember sitting on the sofa and my dad came in the front door of the apartment and my mom was like, she doesn't want to go with you. And he was like, what do you mean it's my weekend? And she was like, you ask her, she doesn't want to go with you. And my dad walked over to me and I was like, I don't want to go with you. But my mom had literally just told me all morning that like if he loved us and if he loved me, he'd still live with us. and we'd have food, and we'd be a family. So here I am, like, pissed at him because my mom has been telling me these things all day. And then I was like, I don't want to go with you. And my dad cried, and he left, you know? Now, my relationship now is much better with my mom, actually. I didn't talk to my mom for 6 years. You know, like when I got married and like we bought our first home, like I wasn't talking, like when I went through my transition, I wasn't talking to my mom, you know, and like for other reasons, like me and my dad have fallen off, you know, but things changed for me when I became a parent. You know, I'm like, I'm not here to coddle y'all anymore. I'm not here to like make y'all feel better about the crappy parenting. Like, it is what it is. Like, y'all want to be involved, y'all are involved. But if you don't want to be involved, that tells me you don't care about being involved in my kid's life. That's my heart and soul. So like, if they're not going to like make an attempt to be around for my kids, like I don't have time for it, because my time is spent like on my unit, like me, my wife, and my 2 kids, you know? So it's kind of wild how like those relationships have changed. Like it took me a long time to warm up to my mom. After we had our first kid, Lennox, when we had him, like, she started coming around. I was very cautious about like how much she could take him or if she could watch him and things like that, because you know, she made me feel really bad about my body and who I was growing up. So, and I wanted my kids to feel super confident in their skin as soon as they could feel any ounce, could understand like feeling good versus feeling bad, you know. But you know, Lennox is now 6, so it's been 6 years, and you know, we're been back in each other's lives, and my stepdad is amazing. Like, he's probably one of my favorite people that I never would have expected, you know, to be such a big impact in my life. And then again, my dad hasn't talked to me since 2020, you know, but to me, what happened with him is like, I just realized he like deleted us off Facebook and blocked us off Facebook and like just stopped texting me and Missy, checking in on the kids. So when that happened, and I was like, look, not only do you, for whatever reason, have a problem with me, and you don't want to talk to me, you know, that's fine. But to block us and everything on Facebook also tells me that you don't care to at least keep up with your grandchildren from a distance. If you don't care about that, then I don't care about you. That's wasted energy. Yeah, man, I'm not worried about it. Because, like, I don't feel like, hey, I'm the kid and you're the adult. No, I'm the dad to my kids. So that's my energy. And that's where I'm putting it. I could say all this stuff and people can think I'm bashing my parents or whatever. But, like, my parents didn't have great upbringings either. So to give them some grace, like, they never grew up with, like, loving, supportive families either. My dad definitely went through his fair share of, like, neglect and abuse, you know, like from his dad or like his stepdad or like his mom or whatever, you know. And my mom had a crazy upbringing too. Like, her dad, you know, tried to kill my momo and killed himself when my mom was 12, you know. And my momo's way of like taking care of my mom and making sure she was okay was pretty much giving her whatever she wanted. You want to go to Hawaii? We're going to Hawaii. You want to go on a cruise? We're going on a cruise. You want to go out of town? We're going out of town. Like, you know, just kind of like babied her, because she's also 9 years younger than her closest sibling. So if she's 12, you know, her closest sibling is, yeah, you know, so like an adult. So she was basically an only child, say, when this happens, you know. So like, and I'm pretty sure neither one of them have gone to therapy. If they have, probably not long enough, or maybe not to the right person. So like, to give them the grace, like they didn't have any examples of like how to be better, you know. And they did the best they could do. I mean, it might have been still shit, but like it was up to me to get out of like where they like, right, like you see it all over online. Like, it stops with me. Like, this traumatic cycle, like it stops with me. Like, because I'm sure I'd be a pretty shitty parent too if there wasn't something in me to be like, it's my responsibility to go through therapy. It's my responsibility to face these things that make me anxious or make me uncomfortable or make me feel insecure, and be like, where's this rooted from? And like, how do I fix it?
Well, yeah.
You know, so like that was a personal decision. Like, I think my mom has reached it. And she's working her way, maybe not to like right her wrongs, but to be better like from here on out.
Yes.
Whereas like, I think my dad's just like,
he's
ready to avoid it.
He's
totally ready to avoid
stubborn. It. And a lot of people like look at therapy as like being weak or like, oh, if you're in therapy, something's wrong with you. I mean, therapy like saved my life. So yeah, I think that was like the best thing that ever happened to me. I wish I'd have went at like 3 years old, 4 years old.
And I think that's what I love about like, say, our gym is that like in our gym, we are very much like, they'll be like, yeah, I went to my therapist, or like they're talking about their therapy sessions like while they're weightlifting, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's like such a community of like, okay, I know we all want to be stronger, and I know we want to like look better naked, and I know we want like, you know, get beach bodies and all this stuff. But like we're in there, and like our community is totally like just openly talking about mental health.
Yeah.
You know, or like we text each other all the time, and they'll be like, yeah, well, I heard he was having like a bad day or like whatever. And like, oh, they were reserved, they canceled. I heard this happened to me. Let me text them and like make sure they're okay. So it's like so community, you know, so it's like my kids are being raised in this gym of people who are very diverse and very different from one another. And I mean like, yeah, gender identity and sexual orientation, obviously, because we're like an LGBT, like safe space gym, but like of all cultures and all colors and races and
it's a gumbo.
Yeah, nice absolutely, gumbo. You know, and just to know that everybody just wants everybody in there to be better, whether we're talking about their physical fitness or whether we're talking about like their mental state.
Well, everybody's supportive.
Yeah, super supportive.
Because like you said in the beginning of the pod, like your parents were kind of like basically just talking down to you, which subconsciously fucked you up as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't know that. Like, knowing now, like, you probably became the person you are and made you stronger because of shit like that.
Yeah.
But, like, that's not something you should be, like, you know, preaching to.
Yeah, you don't want that for everybody. No. You know, like, you want everybody to have, like, the happiest life.
That doesn't mean everybody should get a trophy.
Right.
But, like, teaching them how to, like, work hard. Yeah, so, I mean, it's like a balance, man.
Yeah.
But again, like going back to, you know, they just did the best they could do, but I think it really shaped you to the person you became also.
Yeah, and I always say that. I tell Missy, my wife, that all the time. I'm like, you know, as much of the shit that I've gone through, I don't necessarily at this point in my life say I would change any of it, because I definitely think it makes me the dad that I am, the friend that I am, the coach that I am, like whatever I am to anybody. Like my compassion, and my compassion and my, I would say just passion to help others really stems from everything I've been through. Because I know people look at me now and they're like, oh, this privileged, basically like white dude, but like they don't know I'm trans. They don't know like, you know, the stuff, the abuse that I've gone through as a kid, that I've slept on people's couches. I mean, I was when me and Missy got together, I was renting a room in a trailer in St. Rose.
Nice.
And I was overdrawing in my account because I was going and buying like a freaking salad from Racetrack just so I could have something to eat that night.
Damn.
And my rent was only $200 a month, and I couldn't even afford that. You know what I'm saying? It's like they don't realize like all it took.
Right.
You know, they just see like a very like say privileged person, which is great that they see that, but I want people to know like you can too.
Well, it's not privilege, it's hard work.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Well, like from the outside looking in,
sure.
But people want to know your story behind the scenes, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's why you're here tonight, because like everybody sees this like beautiful gym and they see this great family and this like fit couple and all these people that you created this community, but they don't know like the background story. And that's like the whole point of the pod is like to show people like, hey, look at what he went through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
and I mean, the first time I tried to kill myself, I was 8 years old. I was 8, and which is wild to me because my son is 6. So I think of him in 2 years. I cannot imagine my kid in 2 years
just being
trying to kill himself, or like having that thought like so large. Like, I just don't want to be here anymore, you know? And I still don't know like if my parents even know I tried like at that young. But I just felt like they didn't want me, you know? They were like, why are you acting this way? You know, like they'd literally like strip me with my clothes off and be like, come get us when like a dick grows, because we didn't see one in the delivery room because I was but like I didn't understand.
How old were you when they told you that?
6.
Wow. And they were ganging up on you, which is fucked up.
Yeah. And I just like didn't understand.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. What does acting this way mean? Mm-hmm. Why don't I act right? What does act right mean?
Well, remember what you told me back in the day? When I asked you if it was like a choice and stuff like that, before like I understood like the community and how it all worked. And like you said, you grew up Catholic. And then, right?
Well, my family's Christian. Like, Momo was very Christian.
Right. So, like, in the Bible, right, it's like, it said, like, if you're gay or whatever, it's like, it says that you would go to hell. And you're like, why would I choose why would I choose this life if I know I'm going to go to hell? You know, I was born this way. So, like, that back then, I learned, like, oh, fuck, like, that's just how it is. Like, that's how you're born. So, you know, I had to learn then, you know, I think I was like 21, and that's when I started realizing, I was like, man, you're just born like that. And, you know, because people get it all misconstrued. They're like, oh, it's a choice or it's this. I'm like, dude, who the fuck chooses that? You know what I mean? Like, you don't choose like your skin. You don't choose like the way you are.
And Missy, me and her were really good friends in high school, and she tells people all the time, like, we were like in home ec class, and we had like the circular tables in home ec, and like everybody was like going around saying like what they wanted to do like after high school or whatever, like a goal they had.
Right.
And Missy was like, I want to play softball in college, and they were like, oh, I want to go to nursing school, and I was like, I want to wash my car with no shirt on and have a 5 o'clock shadow. She's like, and that is when I realized that you were not like the other like girlfriends I had. Like there was something like a little bit
y'all went to the
same
school?
Yeah, we were best friends in like junior and senior year.
Right
yeah,
on.
so we I met her after Katrina when I came back to school, because I went and lived in Tennessee for like 3 months after Katrina, because we didn't know when schools were going to open back up and stuff. So when I moved back, she was in my classes. We became really close friends. She had moved from a Catholic school in Laplace. I was the first lesbian she ever knew, and I had like a mohawk with like crazy color. I had lip rings already. So I had just started working at Hair USA. Yeah, I got my job at Hair USA when I moved back.
You had the good hair.
Yeah,
still do.
So it's curly now though. You like that?
Yeah. Well, it's weird how the shit starts changing.
Yeah.
Mine's like more curly too.
Yeah,
when it's long.
So we became friends in high school, and like I thought her life was in the movies, because like her parents were still married, and like she still lived in the house like she grew up in. Like she had a backyard. Like I grew up in like whatever apartment. Like at one point it was me, both of my parents and my 2 sisters in a 1-bedroom apartment. We all slept on one king size bed, and if I wanted any privacy or felt aggravated, like I got to go lay on the sofa. Yeah. Like, you know, like that's how I grew up, you know? So we had like a patio in the apartment. So it's funny because like she thought my life was in movies. Like just being apartment to apartment, parents in and out, like, you know, no support system. And I thought her life was in movies. Like she had a backyard and a nice, like I remember going over her house one time, and she was like, yeah, come have dinner at my house. I was like, oh, I'm gonna come eat. Like me, like I eat on my own. I don't even know what my parents are doing, or if they're like gonna be home. Or if
you were pretty much self-sufficient
or whatever. And I remember going to her house, and her mom was like cooking, and like they started putting plates on the table, and I was like, what are we doing? She's like, we're having dinner. And I was like together? Like everybody's having dinner together? She's like, yeah. I was like, this is weird. Like, you know, but that was the first time I was like, that's families crazy. Actually have dinner together? Yeah. Some of them. You know? Yeah, but it was just like wild. Like, we just came from totally different, you know, sides of life. And she went off to college in Mississippi for 4 years and to play ball. And then when she moved back, you know, we met up. I was living with one of our high school friends. And so since she had just moved back, I was like, yeah, I'm still in touch with everybody from high school. So we just started hanging out. She had only dated guys. We still think that she's very much straight. And somehow we just started dating. And this was before my transition. So it was very weird because her parents were like, we're so happy y'all are hanging out again. I was like, girl, Nana, me too, girl. I'm so happy I'm hanging out with your daughter.
Where that dinner at?
They had no idea for a little while. And then it was very confusing to them, I think, when they did realize, because, like this has never been a thing. Like their daughter has played the most lesbian sport. She was a softball player, like her entire life, and has never like dated a girl. And here she is coming home from college, and now she's like dating me. But the joke's on them because I've actually been a dude this whole entire time. Yeah,
people don't know that. Now they're gonna know, right? Because I mean, even since like the day that I met you, I mean, like you kind of like gave it to me straight, and that's when like you schooled me and showed me.
And that was on accident. I was probably just talking out of my ass to you, just being look, this is how I am.
Well, no. That's what I always loved about you, because you were just like straight up honest about yourself. Like you didn't like hide it at least you like, you know, some people are scared to come out.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you
always... Dennis from Hair USA kind of helped me come out.
Oh, okay.
So I remember, so that's kind of how I got the job there, because Dennis did my hair for years.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember going into Dennis, and I had like my long hair still, and I brought in a picture of Billy Joe from Green Day, because I thoroughly believed that one day I was going to wake up and I was just going to be Billy Joe. It never happened, but it's fine.
You had the hair for a long time.
Well, because I brought in a picture of Billy Joe, and I was like, this is the haircut I want. I remember Dennis like razoring my hair up all crazy, and
flat ironing and shit.
He was like, so does your mom know you're a lesbian? And I was like,
oh yeah, I loved how Dennis was just
I was like, do I know I'm a lesbian? Like, you know,
but you knew.
Like, so I was young. I was like 15, 16 at that point. So like, he was probably the first person that made me realize like, oh shit, I'm a lesbian. And then
fucking Dennis.
Yeah, man. And then I was like, throughout working at like right after Katrina is kind of when I was like, you know what, we done lost our house, all this stuff. I was like, I'm tired of hiding. And that's kind of when I like even like came to it myself and was like, I'm gay,
right?
You know. And then when I was in hair school, I became really good friends with this drag queen. And she was like, baby, you be such a cute little boy. She's like, there's this dyke night. It's Tuesday nights at the Bourbon Pub. You need to come with me. You'll be such a cute drag king.
Right.
Which is like basically the flip version.
Yeah, for sure.
So I started doing drag. So we'd wear like binders to like tighten our chest down and do makeup to do like fake facial hair and stuff.
Right.
And that's kind of when I started realizing, I was like, man, when people like perceive me as male, or I have this binder on where my chest is flat, like this is when I feel like super confident.
Yeah.
You know, again, this is also happening at the same time as I'm realizing like I need a better relationship with working out and not starve myself.
Right.
You know, all this is kind of like happening at the same time.
Right.
And then I would realize that, why do I feel more confident when people perceive me as a masculine person? Why do I now, anytime I want to go somewhere and feel better in my clothes, why am I wearing my binder all the time? Like, I wanted to be in drag all the time. I was like, why? You know? And then that's when, like, 2012, 2013, one of my friends started going through his transition, getting top surgery, and he started getting facial hair. And I was like, what is this?
Right.
And Missy was like...
Yeah, because it wasn't a thing.
No, Missy was like... You would love that. She's like, you've been talking about having your shirt off for like, since we were in high school. She's like, you've been talking about having a 5 o'clock shadow since you were in high school.
Right.
I was like, could you imagine?
Well, remember I told you like I had the gyno surgery because I had like the breast tissue from like just being like fat and probably just the way my hormones
and it's really,
work.
it's super, Missy's ex-boyfriend actually had like the same procedure have to be done when he was like going through just like puberty. Like not even for like juicing or nothing. Just going through puberty.
And I took the juice to try to get rid of it, and it just like it never went away. It never got worse. It just never went away. So I had like muscle now, and I thought it was gonna like make the boobs go away, but really it was like breast tissue. So it was like half a pound in each. I'll never forget because they were like, "Oh, you want to keep this?" And I was like, "Fuck no, get that out of there."
Like, but get that as far away from me as possible.
Yeah, and I remember like just telling like I had 2 or 3 other friends that like got that same surgery, and I was like, "Dude, just make sure whatever."
I think it's more common than we think it is.
Oh yeah, but you know, it's a cosmetic, you know, so it's not like, unless you were like having like pain, which
they wouldn't try insurance and stuff.
Yeah, you know, so it was like fucking $5,000 back then to get that shit done. But like just like with you, I had body dysmorphia so bad about like having boobs that I just felt like I hated taking my shirt off. I would wear fucking shirts that compress my boobs because, like, you know what I mean? I mean, they weren't like these or nothing. Yeah. But like I'm a dude, and then I'm like looking at myself in the mirror because my sisters made me wear their bra when I was little. Yeah. I mean, I got fucked with, you know, I was like the fat kid, you know, so I also had that fucked up childhood of like, you know, having people tell me fucked up shit that made me go, because everybody looks at me now and they're like, oh, you're real fit. Like, dude, do you know what I've been through to get
my
right
parents
here?
were giving me, do you remember Metabolife?
Yeah.
It was like the first like big, and it was all
and
over
I was on
B97.
hydroxycut. Yeah, and I was taking hydroxycut.
Yeah, so like my parents would send me to school, give me a Metabolife in the morning with my breakfast in elementary school. And then they'd give me a pill and be like, okay, take this at lunch too, but don't tell your teachers because you're supposed to be a big kid to take this.
Dude.
So I grew up like on diet pills, knowing like or feeling like because something's wrong with my body. Yeah. Because whatever weight I have going on like is not approved It's not like I should be better than this.
For sure.
You know, so I grew up with a lot of bad relationships with my body, and I'm still still fighting it. Like,
we always talked about comparing.
I know I feel confident, and I told myself, I'm like, I want people to look at me and be like, this dude works out. And she's like, they do. And I'm like, stop fucking with me.
Right.
Like,
well, you know, because
I'm like, no, bro. Like, I still look skinny fat. She's like, you do not look skinny fat. I'm like, stop telling me that, because that's not what I believe.
I
know.
You know, I was talking to my mom last night because I was telling her how you were coming on tonight, and like my mom was always made fun of for being skinny. And like now that she's kind of got like a little belly, she eats ice cream every night, whatever. She says, I still see myself as that like skinny little girl.
Yeah.
So like people don't realize like the shit that's being told to you as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Will fucking, and don't get me wrong. I think it's made most of us that are like in this lifestyle, like it's probably helped.
Yeah.
Excel it. But you know, the all the bad memories and the nightmares and like the fucked up visions that you have of like going through that doesn't help, you know? It's like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe you wouldn't have become who you are if you didn't get like talked to like that. But at the same time,
that's exactly what I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah, it's like fuck.
It's like I wouldn't change it now because I love who I am.
You. Yeah,
it
for sure.
Definitely drives me.
Yeah.
It drives me to be the best coach, the best dad. You know, and I feel like what's special about the way I coach is Missy's very like athletic driven when she's coaching our members. And when I'm coaching them, I'm very much like, okay, what's the backstory behind this? Like, what's your emotional driver? Because that drives us more than we realize, or whether we want to admit it or not.
That's good.
You know, so I get into like, you are good enough. Like, you can get there. Like, it's just going to take time. It's not about being perfect. It's not about doing it for them. You know, like, I like to approach my members and make them feel like it's what they want, what they desire for themselves. Like, it's reasonable, and nothing that's happened in the past can keep them from getting there.
For sure.
You know, whether it's like an emotional body dysphoria, you know, a gender thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we just approach it as like, there's something more than just like the physical, like reason why. Tell me why. And then like truly tell me why. Right. And like, I will coach you to get there.
Right. Yeah, because you have all the tools.
Because I know that's what started me. Like, I know that's where my passion came from, was like, this feels good. I'm healing myself throughout this whole process.
Well, you're blossoming. You know, like every time,
and
like
everyone should, right? Well, like, even if it's not as like traumatic or dramatic.
Well,
like,
no,
we should all be different 5 years from now.
Yeah, well, like when you sent me your progress picture, what was it, Monday? I mean, dude, that was like the leanest I've ever seen your stomach. And then you were talking to me like, was it the vacuums? And I'm like, you know, I remember at Hair USA, you would always like grab your stomach and you're like, oh, I just can't fucking get rid of this. And like now I'm like, your shit's like curved in like that. I was like, damn, I need to start doing vacuums. So like even at like pushed me to like want to start dieting harder, and so you've come a long fucking way.
And I just feel like I'm finally at a healthy place where like I can do it, because
and you have your body dialed in too, which is you know, important, because a lot of people don't even know how to do that. That takes years. It's hard
because you know, when you grow up in society as a female, especially you're growing up 90s and early 2000s, it's skinny, eat less, skinny, eat less. And now we know that's like not actually the truth.
100%.
You know, that's actually hindering what we want to be happening.
Well, we were
to
all not dieting properly back then.
Yeah, right? Be like, thanks, Atkins.
Remember I was eating like chicken out of a plastic bag?
Thanks, Weight Watchers and Atkins, and you know.
Chicken and broccoli, dude.
But yeah, so it's taken me a long time to figure out like the healthy route for myself. But like I was saying is, you know, I finally got to a place where like I'm comfortable in my skin, and I know I can like eat and like have a balanced life and enjoy like these sweet treats with my kids, or like a date night with my wife, or like a drink here and there. You know, but now I feel like I'm at a healthy point where like I appreciate how far my body has come. Yeah. And now I feel like I also have a healthy relationship with food, to where like I know it's not the enemy. I know I need to feed the muscle. I know I need to feed the energy, you know, and I know there's like tricks of the trade of like timing and stuff like that. And I just feel like I'm finally to a healthy mindset to where like now I can dial in and maybe chase an aesthetic goal more intensely and still be healthy up here.
Well, yeah, because like everything else is like autopilot, because like you have control over
the emotions.
Yeah.
The emotions and the trauma that's always like sitting here, like in the back of the head.
Well, and you have a handle on like your gym, your members, like you have your online, you know, we haven't even talked about that. It's like your online coaching. So like you're good on all your, like you're covered. So
and my thing is like, I can help the masses of like your just average person wanting to get off a high blood pressure medicine, wanting to lose a little bit of body fat, wanting to get back, you know, into, you know, they don't want to buy any bigger clothes. They want to get back into their clothes. Like I can help all of those people. I can help people that are like, oh, I have this past injury from whatever, but I want to be active. Like, so now I feel like going through this really major aesthetic goal that I've set for myself, it's only going to teach me further and allow me to help even more people.
Right.
You know, because I'm happy with who I'm helping, but I always want to learn more.
Well,
you know, like I'm only growing. I want to keep growing as a coach, and I don't like to promote anything that I haven't been through myself.
Right.
I like to try it all first. I've tried every fad diet pretty much out there. I've tried, you know, supplements and all these things, you know, so now it's like, all right, now if I want to increase the people I can help and the knowledge I have, I'm going to go through this and see firsthand what it does to me and the struggles that I have. Because how can I help someone and then when they face a struggle, help them through it if I've never been through it?
Correct.
I want to know.
Correct. What is your online coaching service? That way, if people wanted to reach out to you.
I'm King_Dillon Dillon on Instagram, and pretty much every other month or so, I start a 6-week nutrition course.
Yes.
I don't like to call it a challenge because you're not trying to be better than anybody else that signs up. But basically, you go in, you fill out like this Google Doc that I have. It tells me, you know, what your hormones are doing, you know, tells me your eating habits, tells me your eating knowledge, because I'm not going to coach you through nutrition the same way I'm going to coach someone who doesn't know how to read a food label.
Right.
You know, so the survey tells me like what everybody knows. It tells me what their goal is, because sometimes I have someone that's like, I want to do couch to 5K. So I have some people, I want to do a powerlifting competition. And then I had another client that was like, I just want to I'm taking my kids to Disney World at the end of the year, and I want to be able to walk around the park and go to every ride with them and not have to sit down and catch my breath at every bench.
Damn.
You know, so it's like, I need to know people's goal too, because I need to know. Like,
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Fire. Yeah, that's fire.
That's great. I want to play with my kids. Like, they literally just want to take a trip to Disney with their kids and like not have to rest on every bench.
Well, just your approach on how you like read their charts of like their goals.
Yeah, because like I'm going to coach them all different.
Yeah.
You know, because some people I'm like, all right, we're looking at just calories and activity level. Some people I'm like, we're looking at calories, protein, and activity level. Some people I'm like, we're looking at all your macros, your calories, and activity level.
Nice.
And then some people I'm like, we're going to, like, you know, it's like every person could be dialed in differently, because if I bombard someone who barely knows how to look at a calorie, what am I telling them about a macro?
Right. For sure.
Like, calories are king first.
Yeah.
You know, input, output. I mean, you know that just as well as I do, you know? So like I do it about every other month or so. I open it up online. I'm like, all right, we're starting a new course on this date. It's 6 weeks. And then what I do is I give them their numbers. I give them like an at-home workout book in case they're like not comfortable going into a gym. And then once a week, I do a live. They get into like a Facebook group. I do a live. I go over one topic that I think is important. And then I open up Q&A like, okay, how's y'all's week going? Have you ran into any struggles or any questions? Let them ask me anything. And then throughout the whole week, like, people will go in and be like, I made this like chicken parm that was actually like really healthy, or like I made this like breakfast smoothie and it like really kept me full throughout the day. So like they're getting ideas from each other the whole time they're in this. And then they have one time a week where like 1 week I'll go over supplements. 1 week I'll go over whether they need to be looking at weightlifting versus cardio, depending on their goals. You know, another one is like, what is a macro? Right. Like, what is a macro? Why should you care about it?
I think you were telling me about that one, like that one time.
The second to last week, we go over intermittent fasting and if they feel like they should implement it like in their life. You know, so like I go through topics that I think are pretty popular.
Right.
That way they have knowledge about things that I know are like kind of frequently going around in like the fad world.
Yeah. And even shit that you got questions about.
Yeah. Like breaking the myths, telling them the facts. And then I open it up like probably like the last like 15, 20 minutes and just let them ask me any questions they have. Or they have, they're eating too many fats. Like, how can they get rid of fats? Like, they may not know that the creamer in their coffee has like fat in it, which like seems like a no-brainer, but like you don't know where you're meeting these people at. Right. Which is why the survey that they do in the front end is so important, because I know where their knowledge is. And
you can, so you know what you're walking into with a client, which is
everybody's different, and everybody has like almost everybody has a bad relationship with food. Ugh. All of us.
Yeah. Because I mean, whether it's food or like the soft drink. Remember, Jeff used to drink like, I think we calculated his Coca-Cola drinking, and it was 10,000 calories a week in fucking Coca-Cola. I switched him over to Coke Zero when it first came out. Dude lost like fucking 10 pounds.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
like at this point too, there's so many good sugar-free or low-cal options. Like, why are you even drinking the real shit?
Well, I mean, people start to, there's talks about all the bad shit, sucralose and all this other, what's the
So you're gonna tell me they're never gonna drink sucralose again,
right?
They're like, I'm not gonna drink this diet drink because that's sucralose. I'm like, have you looked at the chips you eat,
right,
or the ice cream you eat,
right,
or the chips and dip you had at dinner, or that margarita you ordered? You ain't scared of it when it's in that, but if it's labeled healthy and then it has sucralose in it, then you don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think
like now we're being a little picky and choosy here.
And that's people that probably don't even drink water.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know. I feel like balancing all that is a big deal.
And I think so. The balance comes in too when you're really cautious of people's quality of life. And I think that's another thing with the way that me and Missy coach is like, we want you to get to your goal. Do you want to be your goal in 2 to 3 months? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Right? Or we could just take a little time and let you enjoy your life in the meantime. It might take you 6 to 8 months instead, but you've enjoyed your life. You've been able to celebrate your birthday party. You've been able to celebrate your kid's birthday. You've been able to celebrate your friend's wedding or whatever with no guilt. It might have taken you longer to get there, but your quality of life, which means your mental health, is better than if you did this crash diet. If you do a crash diet for 3 months, what's going to happen when you get to your goal? You're probably going to be like,
you're going to get fatter.
Fuck this. I'm out.
Yep.
And I'm going back to all my old habits because I've gotten here and I'm done.
You're going to double.
Instead of sustain it.
Correct. You're going to actually gain double the amount of weight. Because what did I teach you a long time ago? I'm pretty sure I taught you this. Maybe I didn't. But when you lose weight, your fat cells don't go away. They shrink. And then they like double in size when you regain them. So basically they multiply when you shrink. Like you lose fat, right? But technically the cells are still there. And
I did not know that.
And they double. Dr. Lane Norton, if you want to go look him up, shout out. So they double. And then when you gain the weight back, it's almost like that's why people like look twice as big.
Like get bigger.
Like fat cells are really fucking evil. Like when you lose weight, they shrink, but they double. So then it becomes you could that's the science behind that. So that's why every time I used to do bodybuilding competitions and I would get like in good shape and I would start pigging out after, I would like fucking get like, oh fuck dude, I went from like 168 from one competition, like in 2 days I was like 240, like almost like 198 because I was just eating sugar because I couldn't stop.
It was like all re-bloating and just like filling back up.
Yeah. So and I was like, man, how come I get bigger faster than I did before? And it's not like I was crash dieting. I was like, dieting for like 3 to 4 months, but the longer, what I wanted to touch on was like the longer it takes for that person that you're coaching to do that lifestyle change. So if it took them 8 months to lose like maybe 25 pounds, right? That's a sustainable goal. It's going to take them way longer to put on that 25 pounds, but if
so ideally, and this is kind of hard with the coaching because, people join the 6-week course.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to lose 30 pounds. I'm like, okay, hold up.
Right. Tomorrow.
I'm like, that's great. And we can get there. But you need to reward yourself and you need to celebrate when you lose 3 pounds and when you get to 7 pounds and then when you lose 10 pounds. Because if you're sitting here like, I've only lost 4 pounds and I have 26 more to go. Well, yeah, but you don't get to 30 without passing up 4 first.
Yeah, dude.
Like, you know.
Yeah, and you didn't gain 30 pounds in like 2 days.
Like this last course, I had someone lose 9 pounds, another person lose 12 pounds. And I'm like, this is great. Scientifically, it is proven if you lose 1.8 to 2.2 pounds a week average, you have a better chance of keeping that weight off and sustaining this lifestyle, right? Because when you lose it faster than that, you're probably doing some kind of like crazy crash diet that like you're gonna gain a little bit of it back.
Right.
And what they get frustrated with is they're like, well, it's been week 1. I haven't lost any weight. I'm like, this is normal for week 1. Yeah. It's very normal for week 1. And what they need to realize, and anyone listening, let's say you lose 12 pounds over 6 weeks. That averages 2 pounds a week. Now, your first week, you might lose none. And then the next week, you might lose 3. And then the next week, you might only lose 1.
You're right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
But the body composition changes. Yes. And the body composition
average
changes.
should be 1.8 to 2.2 pounds a week if we're looking at a lifestyle change and not like, oh, I'm crash dieting or I'm getting ready for like this aesthetic show where I have to stand on stage. That's obviously like different stories. Yeah. But your average person that wants to get off of high blood pressure medicine or just be healthy and play with their kids, like slow roll. So I always tell people like change one thing at a time. Change your breakfast. Right. And maybe change the sugary coffee that you have to like just a real coffee.
That was me.
You know, it's like change these little things. When this becomes easy and part of your daily thing, then like you change the next thing. And like these small, it's about being that 1% better every day. Yep. You know, not about being like a whole different person than you were last Tuesday.
Yep.
That's not sustainable.
1% every day after 100 days is 100%.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And even if you fuck up a few days here and there, it's like you're getting higher than you were before.
And then another thing that I really like to drill in people is like, look, you don't have to go into the gym and be like this animal every time you're in the gym. Yeah. If you are, because we're all exhausted, right? Like, look at everyone around us. Like, everyone's super busy. Everyone's got like 1,000 things going on, and everyone is anxious, right? Everybody's like smoking weed, taking shrooms or Xanax or like all this shit, right? Like, we're all super anxious, and we're all just trying to like fend for ourselves out here, you know? But it's just, I just want people to realize, like, if you are exhausted one day or you just feel like you can't give your all, but you can go in the gym and give 80%, and that 80% is your 100% for that day, that's still great. Right. If you go in there and you do a little bit of cardio or, you know, lighter weights for that day, but you went, like, that's still the 100% you had to give, and that's still at least a maintenance action versus like going home, woe is me, eating something that's going to backtrack you. Yes. Like, sometimes we don't need to be so concerned with like progress, and we need to realize like we're human and we have a lot of other shit going on, and like we just need to do what we can for today and like be proud of that. Right. Like, that's great. Right. Like, good for you, because there's a lot of people who are going to like be like, fuck this, turn the car around, go sit on their sofa. Yeah, and like call
or not
it a
leave
day
the house
and like not get anywhere where they want to go.
Yeah, or not leave the house. You know. Yeah, and it's like
even for your mental health, just get out there and like move. It ain't got to be your best day every day. Every workout's not going to be your best workout.
No, dude.
Right?
I mean,
but
no.
Get
I've had
something in.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had it to the point to where like most days I go there and I'm on autopilot, but I just like I know I have to do it. You know, so it's like I tell anybody starting off, like, you're not gonna fucking like enjoy doing this every day of your life. It's just not. I know. Just is what it is.
Bro, I can't stand when people are like, "Oh, must be nice to like own the gym. Like, you just get like paid to like be fit and like work." I'm like, bro,
you don't even.
You think
know.
I want to work out every day?
Yeah, no. I mean,
like, I am honored and flattered that y'all think I like actually want to work out every day.
Yeah.
I'm like,
because
you know how many times I'm like, the kids aren't home. Me and Missy could just like go sit and like binge watch something on Netflix. I'm like, no. I have the time. I have the energy. I'm not sick. I'm gonna go in there for at least an hour. I'm gonna do something.
Yeah. Well, you know, and then go like enjoy yourself, because it's like it's better to do that and then like go enjoy yourself than not do it at all, because then that if you keep doing that stacks up. Yeah.
It's just funny. People are always like, must be nice. I'm like, look, I know it is nice. I do have a gym. I do have everything. It's almost harder though, because like I'll be at the gym and I'm like, I should really go clean that toilet. Yeah. Or like a member walks in, they got a million questions, and I'm like, oh, this is my hour to work out. But like I have to customer service them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's your business, man. Yeah. I mean, like this is the thing this is like your baby, you know, your first baby, to where it's like, and you have to do it. I mean, it's part of being a business owner, and but you're doing fucking awesome. I mean, I remember when we went there with Vicky, shout out, you know.
Oh, yeah, school friend. Shout out to Vicky.
And then I'm trying to think. What we were over there. We were looking at it, and you also have a podcast. So I wanted to make sure, like, I let people know that
the well-rounded coach. I mean, we're not as like official and legit as this,
but y'all should definitely check out Dillon's podcast. I think it's great.
Anything self-help. We'll go over anything between parenting and fitness.
Where can people find you on that?
We're everywhere. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on Google. I mean, I think we're pretty much everywhere. Yeah. I'll upload it to one that uploads it to everything.
Yes, yeah,
so I'm pretty sure
Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout, yeah. So we're pretty much everywhere. We're try to get an episode out every month, and it can be any self-help topic or just any kind of experience, you know.
Yeah.
So we talk about whatever we feel like.
That's awesome. I can't. Thank you for coming on. I'm grateful that you finally came.
I am sorry it has taken me so long.
Well, no, you're busy, dude. You got a lot going. Like, look, clearly you have a lot going on, and it's like I'm very proud of you. And since long time coming, so I'm just very happy for you and your family.
Thank you.
All your success, and I can't wait to have you back on.
Yeah.
And maybe one day I could be on your podcast.
That's
right. I think it's cool.
I gotta get a nice little hookup like this, and I'll have you over.
No, dude, I think you're doing great. And if everybody wants to check out Dillon's gym, if y'all are in the local area, what's area? What's the address?
2708 LNA Road right now is where we're at. So we are just off of Airline in LaBar.
Okay.
So we're like really close to Old Metairie, just off of Causeway.
Cool.
We're a little ducked off, but we're Flambeau Fit.
I love it. I love the area.
On Instagram,
I love the building.
On Facebook, our website, any of that. We do consultations, walkthroughs, nutrition, free class if you need one to dip your toe in the water.
Yeah.
Personal training. Probably the nicest gym in the neighborhood, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
And if that's what I go down being known as, and that's what I go down being known as, at least we're the nice gym.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's you've outdone yourself with it, and looking forward to seeing the growth, and can't wait to have you back. Yeah, and if you guys like this episode, please like and subscribe and share.
Which you should.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to.
People don't. They don't. Well, some people do. But it helps us like get a chance to do more podcasts and everything. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this pod tonight. And Dillon, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you again.
Y'all
have a good night.